All right, you ready to move right along to the St. Louis Blues here?
Let's do it.
Third in the Central last season, 49, 22, and 11 record, 109 points, third in the West, and fifth in the league. That doesn't sound right. That might be a mistype there. Pretty sure that's
second in the West.
Yeah, that's the same thing we just said about the Wild, so that's wrong. But either way, they have their head coach of Craig Berube. They lost two goaltenders in the offseason. Charlie Lindgren went to the Capitals, and Ville Husso went to the Red Wings. He actually took David Perron along with him over to the Red Wings. And Mackenzie McEachern, Jesus, we didn't look that name up. McEachern, thank you, to the Hurricanes. They signed Nick Leddy to a re-sign actually for 4 years. Goalie Thomas Greiss from the Red Wings to a one-year contract. Noel Acciari from the Panthers to a one-year contract. Nico Mikola to a one-year contract. Klim Kostin, one-year contract on the re-sign. And Jordan Kyrou, 8-year extension worth $64.9 million.
You were waiting for that.
Yeah, you like that one?
Going through the names.
Notable UFA for this offseason, too. Tyler Bozak, career low, 3 goals, 9 assists in 50 games played. He had a lower body injury in March. Entered the league in 2009 with the Maple Leafs.
Oh.
And the only trade they had here, the Blues traded goaltender Ville Husso to the Red Wings in exchange for the 2022 third-round pick. And that pick was defenseman Michael Buchinger of the Gulf Storm in the OHL.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sorry I butchered that.
No worries.
I was just burnt out when I was getting into this division here.
Copy paste.
Same
little
exact.
copy paste action. That's fine. Happens.
Copy paste. Yep. So moving on, we got they lost again. Lindgren and Ville Husso here. Ville Husso is the big loss here for the St. Louis Blues because want to go down here to the guy that we love here, Jordan Binnington. Dealt with COVID and knee injuries last season, and another questionable to start the season. And Ville Husso really picked up the pace for missing Jordan Binnington last season, and I think the loss of Ville Husso is gonna hurt the St. Louis Blues. Thomas Greiss, loved him with the Detroit Red Wings. Is he as good as Ville Husso? Ooh, that could have been a post-post pick.
Is Thomas Greiss as good as Ville Husso? Yes.
Yeah. You think so, too?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I don't think so. I think Ville Husso is better than Thomas Greiss, in my opinion.
I mean, last year. I mean, small sample size.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I'm going to write that down. Think about that tonight. Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like goaltending is going to be questionable with the St. Louis Blues yet again with this team. I kind of kept them in the exact same spot, kind of. We just talked about how, you either just stay the same or just, get worse. And I feel like the Blues are kind of just going to stay exactly where they are.
All right, so that's what I was thinking. That was my initial look at it, but then I did a deeper look at it, right? Vladimir Tarasenko, I'm pretty sure he didn't have too hot of a year last year. There was a lot of, locker room talk, a lot of, captaincy issues, things like that I think his mind wasn't, focused on where he needs to be. Yeah. Robert Thomas had an amazing year. Jordan Kyrou and Ryan O'Reilly is just steady Eddie. Brandon Saad, Pavel Buchnevich, this team is a lot deeper than we give them credit for, I think. Noel Acciari centering the fourth line, I think, is going to be good for them, too. On defense, too, Krug, Scandella, Parayko, it's all pretty good. Bortuzzo and Nick Leddy are your third-line D. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
The loss of David Perron is going to be pretty big. I don't really think the loss of Ville Husso is going to be that big. And I was trying to figure out, they didn't trade him, right? Did he walk as a free agent? I forget what it was. I'm putting you on the spot. But regardless, if they traded him, they sold high on him. If he walked, I don't think it's that big of a deal. A Thomas Greiss is another one of those backups that's a suitcase a little bit. He's bounced around the league, and guess what? He's the same exact stats career-wise as Ville Husso. Right. A 9.12 and a 2.72. Ville Husso over 2 seasons, 2.72 and a 2.74 and a 9.12 save percentage. Last season, Greiss had a shit year, 3.66 and an 8.91, but not on one of the best teams in the league,
No.
Older guy, 36 years old, kind of on the back nine. But I do think he's another stopgap. Allen, Elliott, Halak, he's in there, I think.
Yeah.
So I kind of see them stepping up a little bit. I think their younger guys are developing pretty well, and I bumped them up another slot this season. They're going to finish in the 2 seed for me behind Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You didn't even talk about the injuries either, because I'm going through looking at the injuries. It's maybe a fully repaired. What am I trying to say here?
Jordan Binnington, right? Coming off of last season.
I'm looking at defense here. I'm talking about Torrey Krug, suffered upper body and lower body injury last year. Marco Scandella, lower body injury and undisclosed. And then Robert Patuzzo did with undisclosed and upper body injuries last year. Like, the defense just really hurt. Then you have Noah Chari with upper body injury. Clem Costin, upper body injury. Like, these guys are just, like, injured throughout this entire season. So maybe now I'm thinking about maybe, like, coming back with, like, a full-blown, ready-to-go roster might bring them up a notch.
That's what I think too. If they can avoid injuries, maybe that'll make them, even with that too, think about it, right? If they finished third in the Central last year with all of those injuries, and they always like make the playoffs, they always squeak in and have a not decent run, but like they're a competitor, man. Like people go into St. Louis and they don't really want to match up with them, I think they're one of those sneaky teams. And
Ooh.
I think, like you said, like the injuries that they had last year, yeah, there's only, 2 questionables to start the season or 1? Yeah, 2.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's that bad. And, maybe one of them does start and one doesn't. So
Again, questionable doesn't mean they're not going to start.
Right.
You know? So,
So I think that these guys are going to come back well-rested, better than last year. The vets are going to do their usual thing, and I think the young guys are going to step up even more than they did last year.
This is like the third week in a row I've done the 1 through 8, and the more we do it, the more I'm like, oh, I regret what I've done.
Yeah, I definitely still am questioning Minnesota a lot. I definitely still want to move them, but I don't think I'm going to.
Yeah.
Once it's on there, man, like mine's set. I'm not
mine's
touching
set
it.
too, because they're 5th right behind the Wild, the Blues.
The Blues, you bumped them out of the playoff seats,
I
huh?
bumped them out.
Wow.
Oof. But the more we talked about them, I was like, man, I might have messed up here.
So you kept Colorado in the 1, St. Louis in the 5, and Minnesota in the 4. Is that right?
Yep.
All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to write yours down so I can keep up too.
Yeah. So me or Chris could be right. You never know next season. But yeah,
That's a big swing though.
healthy-
2 seed versus 5 seed.
Yep. Healthy lineup is gonna help out a lot of these teams. And
Yeah.
maybe that's what the Blues need.
Yeah, and I didn't see, a timeline on all of those guys, but I do think like when you get into the playoffs and you're playing, even if it's one more round, like those 6-7 games that you play in the playoffs are just so much different than the regular season.
Right.
You're bound to end up with 1 or 2, 3 injuries,
Right.
because of it.
Could you see another cup run like they did in 2019? Within the next 5 years, maybe?
Yeah, I think their window is closing, but yes, I would say within the next 3 if it's going to happen.
There'll be like some kind of at
Yeah,
least run.
I feel
that.
like the
Yeah.
passing of the torch of like David Perron and who the hell is the other one? Oh, there's another older guy that was on the roster for a long time. I think the torch is starting to get passed to like Ryan O'Reilly, who's getting ready to like train and groom the next guy, pass it on. I think their window's closing and they need to get these guys up to speed a little quicker than they
With
want
that
to.
said, they do a good job with like the veteran players, like the veteran presence, like that.
Yeah.
Like it's a veteran team, but also at the same time they mix in like young guys too. Just be like they learn.
I think
from,
it's a
like,
healthy
older
mix.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
100%. Yep. And I think that's might be the only reason why they're just. It's like a good mix that we're talking about, but at the same time, I don't think it gets the job done. Like a lot of these good teams, a lot of like the better teams, they're all young stars with just like not even a handful of like the veteran guys, helping the way. Whereas the St. Louis Blues, they are just more than that. They're almost half the roster, I'd say. I like the veteran guys, like the other half are like the rookies coming up, or just like the guys who've been in on the team or at least in the league for the past few seasons, like learning from the guys.
Right.
It works, but I don't think it's gonna work in the long term for like a Stanley Cup run, maybe. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Like it's almost too spread out, but like,
Yeah.
but it's also not because you can't lean to be too young when it comes to the playoffs because you don't have that veteran presence. You need veteran presence, and if you're too old, you're too slow. So
Right.
I think they're the healthiest mix. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I see though.
Okay.
Real quick, one thing that I'll say is that the St. Louis Blues haven't missed the playoffs since the 2017-18 season, and before that, it was the 2010-11 season.
Wow.
So they've only missed the playoffs once in the last 10-11 years.
Wow.
So you have them out. You have them out this time
I'm
around.
out this time around.
We'll see.